Cyberpunk 2077, Astral Chain, Deus Ex, Bomb Rush Cyberpunk, Jax 2. The common denominator between all of these games is that you're usually an unstoppable force in a cyberpunk world. And having played a couple hundred hours between all of them, I can confidently say you are none of these in Citizen Sleeper 1 or 2. Here, you're nobody. You're a living machine. Another faceless, nameless person in the crowd just trying to keep yourself alive and healthy. You may have brains, a strong constitution, or the ability to network yourself, but that's it. The purpose of your existence was meant to be a tool for a corporate entity, who only cared that the replica of you pays back what the original you owned. And you may have gotten your freedom, but with the glaring conflict of Citizen Sleeper 1 that is built-in planned obsolescence, or Citizen Sleeper 2, where the boss of a space Yakuza family wants your hide, it's what you choose to do with that freedom that makes it count. I'm Mr. J, and if a slow, methodical, chance-based tabletop RPG set in space with some cyberpunk thrown into the mix is your cup of tea, then Citizen Sleeper 1 and 2 are right up your alley. How the events of Citizen Sleeper 1 and 2 are kicked off is because of the in-game megacorporation, N.Sanity. They offer the service of clearing the debts of the real you by placing your original body into cryostasis. Then a synthetic copy of the original you, called a sleeper, with an implanted consciousness, is thrown into the proverbial or literal mines of wherever in the universe to pay off your debt. The catch to all of this, well, making a full replica of a person has its quirks and faults. Most notably, aside from the severe ethical and human rights violations, is that sleepers have the ability to think autonomously. SNRP essentially just pirated a human being and shoved it into a fancy toaster. I can't help but think of the mid to late 2000s piracy is a crime ad that was on almost every DVD at the time. But that leads to how 1 and 2 begins. Your sleeper, in their decision, ran away and got to where they are now. In Citizen Sleeper, you awaken on the Eye, a space station held together with zip ties, duct tape, and underpaid and overworked people doing their best to stay alive. Your sleeper, after coming online in a shipping container, begins exploring the Eye, patching yourself up and consuming nutrients, avoiding mercenaries hired by S&ARP until you can finally put a stop to them, helping around the station for credits so you can buy supplies and have a place to live. It's not glamorous, but it pays the bills and keeps you from literally falling apart and dying. Wherever you visit and help, however you spend your time and resources, and whatever ending you decide to aim for, that's up for you to decide. Citizen Sleeper 2, on the other hand, has you escaping the clutches of Lane, a space Yakuza who rebooted you for purposes unknown to you at the beginning. The upside, said reboot, removed your dependency to needing stabilizer for good. The downside is it also borked your memory and mostly everything of your old life. But as luck would have it, your friend and coworker Seraphim, while frustrated at the loss of your memories, grabs you and runs away from your former boss because he's the one guy in the criminal empire with a shred of moral fiber. In your little spaceship Seraphim grabbed from the hangar, the two of you beeline away from home and into the Helion system. This time, the looming threat isn't a drug designed to keep you in line and stop you from rebelling lest you break down and cease functioning, but the fact that you have a Yakuza biting at your heels, as Lane has an approximate location of where you are, and will terminate you if you spend too long dilly-dallying in one area. So while you'll be taking on gigs, building up a crew, gathering supplies, completing requests for various people, and choosing how you want to tackle everything in front of you, don't forget, Lane is just around the corner. Citizen Sleeper 1 and 2 are both fun and challenging games, but they also rely on tabletop RPG mechanics. What that means is you're playing something akin to a D&D session. You roll your dice, check your modifiers, your character takes an action, and then your turn ends. In both Citizen Sleepers, you have 5 dice to decide what actions you're going to take. Plus, the class you picked and the trees you upgrade will give you boosts to your dice as you choose how to spend your day. You can choose from 3 classes, all with different skill trees, benefits, and weaknesses across them. Completing drives, which are essentially quests in the game, reward you with upgrade points that can increase your character's dice modifiers and unlock perks. Another thing you have to do between the two is maintaining your energy levels or risk negatively affecting your sleeper's dice, with nuance to how both are affected. Aside from a few other factors, that is where the similarities between both games end. To elaborate, in Citizen Sleeper 1, you have to manage your condition and energy. The energy meter, while easy to fill up, serves a major purpose. Having high energy means if you screw up a roll, you'll lose energy but risk no condition loss. Having low energy means if you take a risk and fail, you lose condition. Tied to that, the condition meter dictates how many dice you'll have at the beginning of each cycle. The better you take care of yourself, the more actions you can do in a cycle means earning more money and resources to manage personal upkeep and assisting the denizens of the Eye. And that's pretty much how the loop functions. You're essentially working on a stable cycle of self-sufficiency. Keep in mind though, the loop does work inversely. The worse you do, the more energy you lose and the more condition you sacrifice. The less energy and condition you have means less dice to work with and less chances to make money and gather resources for your sleeper. And you'll head towards a slow downward spiral if you don't allocate resources and credits to restoring your energy and condition. But there is one more important thing to keep in mind. If your condition gets to 0, you suffer a breakdown, are forced to sleep to avoid dying, and one of your skills will break and be temporarily disabled until you use an upgrade point to repair it. You won't get a game over if all your skills are broken, but it will make the game much harder to beat. However, in Citizen Sleeper 2, there have been some major shakeups. First, your sleeper does not have access to nearly every perk. Now a single modifier will not benefit from upgrades, and certain special perks are now locked behind your selected class. Each class now has a push mechanic that can shift the balance of chance during a gig in your favor if used right. Also, there's a difficulty option you can pick from when you start a new game, meaning if you want to enjoy the story, play normally, or want a serious challenge, the game gives you that option. The next most important thing is while you have an energy meter, you don't have a condition meter anymore, and instead have dice condition. The more you strain your dice or lose a roll, or you use a push and it doesn't go your way, the higher chance you have of breaking your dice. However, breaking a die isn't like Citizen Sleeper 1, where downing some stabilizer and taking a nap will replenish your dice. No, you have to collect scrap or rare components to repair your dice. Repairing your dice also has a chance to give you glitches that accrue on a meter next to your dice, depending on what components you repaired your dice with. Certain story elements and dice repair create glitch dice. Glitch dice have a respective 80% and 20% negative and positive outcome to occur, and they aren't good to have or accrue because then you're more likely to fail a roll. Higher difficulties also means if you croak, you gain a permanent glitch, or you just flat out die. Standard missions go almost the same way in Citizen Sleeper 1. Keep your energy topped off, don't overexert yourself or take unnecessary risks, and you won't rapidly spiral downwards and end the game as a pile of scrap. There's also a new thing to do in the Helion system, gigs. You're now taking the crew you've built on the rig you liberated from Lane and going out into the Starward Vector for jobs, and a major part of that ties into the loop for Citizen Sleeper 2. You head to a station, look for jobs to do while preparing supplies and fuel to head out on a gig. Then, each crew member you've collected on your journey has a specialty or specialties that can bump decisions in your favor. The crew you picked for the mission also has dice you can use on a gig with said specialties. Each day you spend doing a gig means one less stock of resources, and the more days you go without food, the more stress you build up. Higher stress buildup means more chances for failure, and that means you are more likely to botch the gig. You head to a gig, work as smart and as quickly as possible, avoiding dangers the gig throws at you and the potential of breaking your dice, all while making sure you have enough supplies to last the gig before heading back. 2 is a little bigger to stomach, but once you become acclimated with how everything runs, the game becomes a cakewalk from there. It's just like 1, but with a few more additions to the formula. And I did have a couple of minor, but not game-breaking issues. 1, I wish both games had a tutorial mission to ease players into the game, so we can try, fail, and are encouraged to be happy with our failure and learn from that loss, because it would have helped tremendously. Also, it would have been nice if the games were optimized for Switch a little better. Don't get me wrong, I love both games, but the last time I played Citizen Sleeper 1, the game just shat itself and crashed when I beat it because it was rendering a zoomed out view of the eye. Both games look good, but at the same time they looked a little crunched up and rough on Switch. That's all I have to say considering this is a review and not a full deep dive into Citizen Sleeper 1 and 2. I wish both had a little more polish and optimization, but the devs at Jump Over the Age seriously did a phenomenal job with the resources they had for Citizen Sleeper 1 and 2. When I began playing Citizen Sleeper 1 for the first time, I was confused, scared, and frankly annoyed at the game because I had no idea what I was doing for the first few cycles. I kept failing, and the successes were far and few between, but I didn't give up. I kept chipping away at it. I would read the dialogue between my sleeper and the various friends they made, and in between, I then gradually pulled myself out of the red and was able to do more. And by the end, I was having fun, and I admit I was crying when I reached the credits. And when Citizen Sleeper 2 was announced, I got excited, waited, and bought it a couple weeks later. That's how invested the first game made me feel. If you still need more incentive, the first game has 3 free DLC episodes that tell one big story. Forewarning, they are late game DLC, so if you want to get it, you'll want to play through the entire game and stock up on resources before tackling them. And there's a bundle for both games, so you're not spending $10 more on both separately. I will say again, if you're not here for a slow, methodical, and chance-based game, then play one of the others or another Cyberpunk game. And that's because Citizen Sleeper 1 and 2 are not high-octane, combat-focused, hack-and-slash adventures. You're there for the atmosphere and story baked into the games. And whether you're doing work around the eye with your friends, or traversing the Helion system with your crew, the game makes it clear you're the master of your own destiny. Sure, you can give up, stop dead in your tracks, or choose the easy way out, but it's what you do with this life that you have right now that can be the difference between a slightly better world or the end of your story. I can't tell you the best ending because that's all up to how you interpret the one you chose to take. It's a role-playing game. You're the one who decides how everything should go, so make an ending you can be proud of. I'm Mr. J, and Mushroom Gang for life.